now to take your flowers in a sleeve and make them a pretty bouquet. Now I'm going to wait just a minute because I think that maybe I'm a minute or two early. Not sure about that. But I don't even think I can read the comments from this far away, so I'm going to apologize right now. If you're commenting, I'm going to look at every single one of them and I'm going to respond later because I know that you may have questions. I'm also recording this on another device that I will keep and post. I'll probably put it up on YouTube so that you guys can refer to it later. Now, I was a florist for the bulk of my early adult years. And then, even when I was in a professional career, I would often work on the weekends or holidays, and believe it or not, I would take vacation time and go to a floral shop and fill in for them. And it was kind of fun, but I finally got tired. It is not an easy job. So I used to get all the time little girls who would come in and say, oh, I would just love to be a florist and play with flowers all day long. And I just kind of, say, well, that's great. I've got about 10 buckets of slimy flowers back here that need cleaning and carrying out. So I loved the design part of it. And yes, I did finally do it long enough that all I had to do was design pretty much. Yeah, you do what you have to do. You clean the slimy buckets and your feet are freezing because you're standing on a cold cement floor with debris from the flowers you've just cut all around your feet. But I love to design and I love the creativity, and it is a thankless job. And I know so many times people would get, bouquets that cost an absolute fortune, but there's so much involved in getting that bouquet to you. So I've been on here a minute or two, so I can't really see. I think we're doing fine. I'm going to go ahead and start. So I don't know if there's anybody on here. I don't know if my husband, he said he was going to watch at 11:30 because that's his lunch hour, so that's be kind of cool. So I got to thinking, what did I want to put this in? Well, I had this container that was my mom's, and I remember as a child when she actually received this. She was a 5th grade teacher. She taught several grades, but one year for Christmas, one of her students brought this full of homemade, I think it was divinity, but it may have been fudge. And I've looked this piece up and it's worth some money today. But I love the pink and the green. I think it's so pretty. I love that green color. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk to you first of all. I've had this since I was a florist, and it's called Clean. Now, you can find this in a small scale at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or somewhere. You don't have to have it if you've got a good, secure container. But if you've got something that's kind of open or flares out at the top, you may want to put some of this. It is horrendously sticky. And just kind of to show you how it works, I'm going to take a little piece here. It comes on paper, you peel it off, and you stick it to the container, and it doesn't matter if it's wet. That's the cool thing about it. So it will stick to your foam. So now I've got foam over here, and I'm not putting these in a vase. I'm making an arrangement. So I'm going to pull this foam up. I've got it in a big bowl. Now, I've been soaking this foam for 2 hours, and I'm hoping it's enough. The type of foam you want is called Oasis. Think of an oasis of water in the desert. The other foam for silk arrangements is Sahara. So you think of dry foam for dry arrangements or silk arrangements, but for fresh arrangements, you want Oasis. Now, if you want to put this in water with some sort of preservative, you usually get it with your flowers. There may even be some in there. I had some, so I went ahead and added it to the water. And you just want to float it on top, and you want to let it naturally sink in. You're going to have to resist the urge to push that sucker under the water and force it to soak the water up. Because what will happen is you're going to wind up with dry spots in the middle, and when you put your flowers in there, they're going to be in a possible dry spot and they're going to die quickly. So plan ahead, get you some Oasis, put it in the sink and just let it soak the water up. Now, I'm going to tip this over here. So this one almost by itself fits, but it's going to wobble around in there. So I've got another piece over here and I'm going to wedge some pieces in there. So I'm just going to cut this. Now, see what I'm talking about here? See this dry spot? For some reason, that didn't want to soak up, and neither did that. So I'm telling you, you've got to listen to me. Now here's another couple of dry spots, but I think it's going to be okay. We're going to just work with it. I'm going to cut around the dry spots so I've got a completely saturated piece. And then I'm just going to take that, I'm going to force that in there. I'm going to get me another wet piece. Now I'm just cutting it with a knife. It's a serrated knife. And again, I've kind of made a wedge shape out of this, and I'm just cramming it in there. That's as far as it'll go, so I'm just going to break it off. Now, what I've got, it's not going to jiggle. It's good enough. Those pieces were only there to hold that in place and keep it from wobbling around. Okay, so now that we've got that, I'm going to put just a little bit more water here. Hopefully it will keep soaking it up. Not be able to tip it over much. Now, a lot of people would never put roses in arrangement, but I worked for a florist one time. That's how they did all of them. They had big, beautiful baskets and lush greens, and they would do their roses in arrangements, and I fell in love with that. But I've done them every which way you can possibly imagine. Whatever the florist shop deemed was necessary is what I did. So what I want to do is I have gone around my houseplants this morning and I've cut greenery. So I've got all of that. I've got 2 different ivies. There's one. Here's a variegated. And now I had the ivies already cut, and I was rooting them to propagate and put into more plants because I cut my ivies constantly. The worst thing in the world is see one little ivy trail that somebody's afraid to cut. But if you cut it, it just gets fuller, and then you cut it and it gets fuller, and they propagate quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of build a little bit of a foundation first of all to get my size and scale. I cut off these mother-in-law tongues, and I'm going to do this backwards. So let's see if I got skills, if I can do that for you. And I poked that piece of foam down in there, so let me get another one. Okay. So I'm going to put him right there. Now, I don't always do 3s. I don't always do uneven numbers, and I know that's going to send some people over the edge. But if you're putting even numbers in a clump together, that really is one unit, and so that can constitute one odd number. So I'm going to put those right there to give us some height. Then I have these peace lily leaves. Again, I've only got 2. Let's see, how do I want to put that? Working backwards, this is a challenge for me. So I've got a sharp knife here. I'm going to cut that, and then I'm going to put that right there, and then I think it will eventually fall down. I've got another peace lily leaf. Again, I'm just doing 2s, and I'm putting it together right there. So I've got this line that goes, now that goes from my right to my left, but for what you're seeing, it's going from the right, your right, to the left, and that's the way our eye follows. Now, if I was doing a symmetrical arrangement, I'd start in the middle, but that looks, I'm not a symmetrical person. Let's just leave it at that. So now I'm going to take some of these little bits and pieces, and I'm going to put them in here. And I've clumped them together as well. I like that. So if you think about that, I do have 3. I've got 1, 2, 3. So I've got an odd number. Now I'm not going to put my ivy in yet. I'm going to wait until I've got my roses in. So my sweet hubby put the flowers in a water vase in the plastic. If you are in a flower shop, or if you have, see, Floral Life, just exactly what you need. If you have a big sink, it is best to cut roses underwater because they are different than other flowers. If they get an air bubble, it will travel up the stem and it will hit the head and it will limp. If you've ever gotten roses and after a day or so, the heads just fall limp, it's because an air pocket traveled up. It's kind of like in our own blood system, capillary system, if we were to get an air bubble that hit our heart, boom, that would be the end of it. So you can kind of think of it that way. Now we've got one little, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm not here at a sink, and it's just the way it is. So I'm going to take a knife. It needs a good sharp cut. With roses, you do not want to. Can't talk and arrange, can I? Now, let me pull off. Another thing that people are often afraid to do is to pull off bad leaves. So all roses come with what we used to call guard leaves, and they're crappy looking. So pull them off. If you've got extra leaves that are crappy, pull them off. You may have a tiny little bud, but it's better to have a tiny little bud than it is to have yucky looking roses. So I'm going to leave that stem there. Oftentimes we'll use those later. Now here's a good example. Do you see these guard they're guard petals? Just pull those off. Okay, and see what a pretty rose you've got left with. So this one's nice and pretty. So I'm going to put it here with our mother-in-law tongue. That one was just broke. It was small. So we're going to leave that there. Pull these guard leaves off. Now I may have to turn this around. I'm not so sure exactly how. So I'm going to gauge this. These have not been dethorned. When I was in flower shops, we had lots and lots of roses to dethorn. We took a potato masher. We wouldn't even unbundle them. They would come in bundles of 25 and they'd be wrapped up the heads. And we would just take the entire body and just run that along them. So here we've got another one. I'm going to take these guard leaves off, guard petals. Let's see. You know, it's going to take you a lot longer. I just kind of know because I've done this so much where I want my roses. But don't feel rushed. Take your time. Leave your roses in. I've pulled all my roses out. Don't do that if that's you. In fact, I should probably put them back in the water. Okay, so I've kind of got that flow going. Wished I'd have dethorned these first. Okay, that one was too long. I didn't like that. So, actually, I think I'm going to put it back here. There we go. Flying roses. Now, if you don't have Oasis foam, now you can get that Oasis foam at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and I believe I probably already said that. But, whoops, another guard leaf. You can just put them in a vase, and then you can put your greenery in that vase as well. But if you will just go buy some Oasis the next time you're at one of those stores and just save it, you'll have it on hand. And if you know a holiday is coming up, like Christmas or Valentine's or something, go ahead and just get you like a mop bucket or something and put you some Floral Life in it, and put the water in it, put it out in your garage, and put your floral foam out in there several days ahead. This is more of a formal arrangement. It's not going to be a casual arrangement. I love if you take flowers like out of your garden, for instance, if you take hydrangeas and any of those, and you know, to make a more casual arrangement, I love those. This is not that. This is a formal arrangement. Turn this back around. See how I'm filling it out. Whoops, I'm out of roses. How about that? Oh, here's one. Here's that one I broke. Okay. So I'm going to move this. I misjudged how many roses I had. So I'm just going to rearrange these a tiny little bit. And then you can see the bases there. Now, I don't worry about getting too perfect about the placement of them, because nothing is perfect. You're not going to go into a garden in this fallen world and find perfection. So don't obsess over that. But now what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the ivy, and I'm just going to cut it. You want to take off any extra leaves. Let me turn this just around a little bit. I'm going to sneak him down in there. If you do go to a floral shop and you want to buy some foam or whatever, you can also buy a leather leaf. So I'm going to pick this leaf off, and I'm just going to stick him in there by himself. Okay. Leather leaf is a fern. You see it in arrangements constantly, and usually what I do is I create an entire base of leather leaf first. Now this is just, here's a sidebar. These are old coffee mate containers, and this is how I propagate my tendrils. So I fill it with water, and then I stick the ivy through the hole. Then as I need it filled, I unscrew it, fill it, put them back in here, and screw it down. So there's a freebie for you today. Okay. As the day goes on, this ivy will move. That's okay. It will begin to soak up water. It will begin to move toward the light. It will change, and that's okay. So that's another reason I'm not getting too concerned about where I'm placing it. Just trying to fill it in for now, and then let nature take its course. Yeah, that's looking nice. Now, one thing that people often forget is the back of their arrangement. Even if it's going to be sitting up against a wall, that back, there is something about the eye. When you look through the arrangement, you can tell. Do you see the difference when I place that there at the back? There's a hole there. So always take care of the back of your arrangement. Okay, now I'm out of that ivy, so let's start filling in with some of this variegated ivy. Now I could leave some of this long to tendril down, and I may do that. Pluck enough leaves off to give you a good stem, because you'll need a long enough stem to anchor down in there. Turn that back around so you guys can keep a good look at it. I'm going to feed this through here, and I'm going to put him in the back here, and then he can feed through and come out. I see some comments coming through. Stick this one in the back. I can't read them from here. I apologize, but I promise you, as soon as I'm done here, I will answer them. The fuller it gets, sometimes you have a few more challenges getting your filler in there, but just take your time, just be careful. I've got a little bit more here in the back I need to fill in, and I'm just going to probably use all of this because, you know, I'm just a fuller kind of girl. I just have to have it full and lush and thick, and so we're just going to use it all. Okay, let me see what I've got. It gives you a chance to see the back of the arrangement, though. I like it. Now what I wanted to show you is, I've got one more stem. I'm just going to put it here in the back. Probably cut it up a couple times. You never want to see foam. You want to keep putting greenery in until you don't see foam. Now, you can put moss in there, but make sure it's wet. Make sure it's moss that you can wet. I don't know that I would like a bow in this, but it is Valentine's Day, so let's take a piece of ribbon, and I thought that this ribbon looked pretty with this container. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cut this ribbon pointed. I'm not going to make a bow, I'm just going to make loops. So I'm going to hold it up. I'm just going to make a loop here, another loop, and then I'm just going to twist that one around. I've got a little wooden pick here. It's got a wire on it. I'm going to rest it in there, and I'm going to wrap it around, hold it tight, wrap it around tight, and I'm just going to stick this in there. It's just a little tuft of ribbon. You do not have to do it. And there you go. Now, when I take this out and I sit it down, I'm going to take my real pretty little lid, and I'm just going to kind of rest it up there. I can't see what I'm doing, so apologize. There we go. All right. Well, that's it. It went from a wrapped bouquet of roses to a beautiful bouquet. And I didn't go out and buy anything. I had these house plants. If it was summertime, I'd have gone out in the yard and I'd have started clipping trees and shrubs and hedges, and I would have brought all that greenery in. But I just so happened to have this in the house. The only thing you might need to buy is your Oasis foam, and that is really critical. Just go buy it. It's cheap. Keep it in your pantry or keep it somewhere, and when the holidays come, you'll have it ready. It's great for doing Christmas arrangements. You can do cedar. You can go out and cut some cedar or some pine needles and put that in there. Maybe around next Christmas, I'll do another live. So anyway, that's it for today. Like I said, I'm going to read all the comments as soon as I get off of here. If you've got a question, I don't know it all, and I haven't done floral in a shop for a while, so they may have some new tips and tricks and techniques that I'm not aware of. So, but I'll try to answer any question you've got. So, alrighty, happy Valentine's Day to me and to you. I'm going to click us off now. Click subscribe and tap the bell. You never know what's coming next.